The Imperium does not record mistakes. It records deviations from accepted view. There are tombs beneath the galaxy that predate human speech. They contain things that chose to stop existing rather than face what they had become. The transition was meant to be temporary, a calculation of millions of years measured against the promise of flesh restored, mortality reclaimed, divinity conquered through sheer persistence of will. But calculations made in desperation are often wrong. The Necrons built their tombs with precision that mocked entropy itself. Stasis fields layered upon chronal buffers, layered upon dimensional anchors. Every contingency mapped, every failure mode anticipated. The tombs would wake when the galaxy was soft again, when the younger races had built civilizations ripe for harvest, when the stars themselves had forgotten what terror looked like in its oldest form. They did not account for the astronomically improbable. They did not account for chaos spilling into reality like infection into a wound. They did not account for the psychic scream of a species 10,000 years into its own extinction, echoing backward through time itself. They did not account for being woken by accident. The tomb world designated Amareth 7 by the Administratum, though it had another name once, in a language that predated language, had been sleeping for 60 million years when the mining servitors broke through its outer shell. The Imperium called the planet Calix Tertius, a frontier world. Marginal ore yields. Population, 400,000 souls spread across 17 surface installations and one primary hab complex buried 3 kilometers into the crust. The planet mattered only in aggregate. It was a number in a ledger that stretched across 1 million worlds. Its tithes were paid, its prayers were recorded, its people lived and died in quantities deemed acceptable by officials who would never know their names. This is important to understand. Calix Tertius was doing everything right. The mining operation that breached the tomb's outer layer was following protocols established 7,000 years prior. The servitors, lobotomized criminals with their brains replaced by simple machinery, were operating within approved parameters. The equipment had passed its most recent blessing. The overseers had completed their daily devotions. They were extracting promethium-laced ore from shaft 447, then a gamma. When the drill bit, blessed and anointed, punched through a layer of living metal that self-repaired faster than it could be damaged. For 17 seconds, the drill continued to function normally. The overseers noticed no deviation in the extraction metrics. Then the drill stopped, not broke, not seized, stopped. The servitors continued their programming, attempting to restart the mechanism. The overseers consulted the technical manual, a holy text 300 pages long, each page signed in blood by a magos of the Adeptus Mechanicus. On page 287, subsection 14, paragraph 9, it stated, "Should the blessed instrument cease function without cause, offer prayer and await instruction." They prayed. They waited. Below them, in a chamber that had not felt movement in longer than human evolution, something ancient stirred. Not consciousness. Not yet. Just protocols, automated responses to external stimulus. The tomb's systems were designed to assess threats, categorize intrusions, respond proportionately. The assessment took 6 hours. The tomb's machine spirit, though to call it that would be to mistake a god for an insect, analyzed the breach. It measured the crude atomic structure of the drill. It calculated the technological level of the intruders. It determined threat level, negligible. It decided not to wake its masters, X. Instead, it deployed the tomb's autonomous defense systems. Scarabs. Maintenance constructs the size of human hands, designed to repair damage to the tomb's infrastructure. Millions of them, perhaps billions, stored in dimensional pockets folded into spaces between spaces. They emerged into shaft 447 gamma like silver water flowing upward. The servitors did not scream. They could not. Their organic components registered pain as a distant error signal, rerouted through mechanical processors that interpreted suffering as a data point, requiring no response. They were disassembled efficiently. Flesh separated from metal, metal reduced to constituent atoms, atoms reorganized into materials the scarabs could use for repairs. The process took 4 minutes. The overseers, stationed 300 meters above, noticed the telemetry cutoff. They consulted the manual again. Page 412, subsection 7, paragraph 3. Should all blessed instruments cease function simultaneously, Report deviation to the site administrator and continue prayer. They reported. They prayed. The site administrator was a man named Halvek Prain. This detail matters because he was, for a few more hours, a human being with a name and a function and a small apartment where he kept a picture of his daughter. She lived on a different world, serving in the Astra Militarum. He had not seen her in 11 years. He prayed for her safety every night, as was required and as he genuinely meant. Halvek Prain received the report at 23:47 local time. He was tired. The shift had been 16 hours already, and the quotas for the month were behind schedule. The administratum had sent 3 notices. The third notice had included a reminder that failure to meet production requirements constituted potential evidence of heresy, as inefficiency suggested either incompetence or sabotage, both of which implied deviation from the Emperor's divine plan. He was afraid, not of the deviation in Shaft 447 Gamma, of the notices. He made a decision that was, by every measure, correct. He scheduled an inspection for the following morning and went to bed. This is how systems fail. Not dramatically, quietly. The Imperium does not prevent disasters, it absorbs them. This is not cruelty, though it is cruel. It is mathematics. With 1,000,000 worlds and quadrillions of souls, the only sustainable strategy is triage on a galactic scale. Some worlds matter more than others. Some lives matter more than others. Calix Tertius, with its marginal ore yields and frontier location, mattered very little. The morning inspection never happened. At 03:22 local time, while Halvek Prain slept, the Scarabs finished repairing the breach in Shaft 447 Gamma. The living metal sealed perfectly, leaving no evidence that it had ever been damaged. But the tomb's protocols, once activated, did not simply shut down. They continued to assess the situation. The assessment expanded. If there was one breach, there might be others. If there were surface dwellers, they might breach again. The tomb's machine spirit made another calculation. It began to wake the outer guardians, not the sleeping nobility in their sarcophagi of stasis and nightmare, not the legions of warriors waiting in their millions, just the perimeter defense systems, the constructs that existed only to protect, to assess, to eliminate threats before they became problems. Wraiths phased into existence along the tomb's outer boundaries. Assassin constructs built from living metal and dimensional phasing technology, they existed partially outside reality, moving through matter as though it were suggestion rather than substance. Their programming was simple. Identify intrusions, eliminate intruders, report success. They detected the mining complex 3 kilometers above. The protocols were very specific about what constituted a threat. The presence of life was insufficient. The presence of technology was insufficient. But the combination, life using technology to extract resources directly above the tomb, met the threshold. The wraiths rose through the planet's crust like thoughts through a dreaming mind. They emerged in the worker barracks at shift change, 247 miners, just waking or just sleeping. The wraiths killed efficiently. They phased their claws through flesh, disrupting biological processes at the molecular level. Death was instant. The bodies showed no external wounds, just a sudden cessation of function, as if their souls had simply been removed. It took 8 minutes. The first alarm was triggered by an automated life sign monitor in Barracks Section 7C. The signal went to the complex's central Medicae station, where a servitor registered the data, categorized it as a mass medical emergency, and activated the appropriate response protocols. 3 Medicae staff arrived at the barracks 6 minutes later. They found the bodies. They found no wounds. They found no signs of disease, no evidence of toxin, no explanation. They reported to the site's senior Medicae, chirurgeon practitioner Olev Mast. He was 73 years old and had served on Calix Tertius for 40 years. He had seen mining accidents. He had seen disease. He had seen starvation when shipments were delayed. He had never seen 247 people die simultaneously without cause. He did what his training required. He declared a potential plague event and initiated quarantine protocols. The complex was sealed. No one in, no one out. Messages were sent to the planetary governor's office in the primary Hab complex 400 kilometers south. The messages used the proper channels, the proper encryption, the proper devotional formatting. They arrived at the office of Administratum Clerk 72449 Tertius, Designation: Vorna Kellis. Vorna Kellis was 32 years old. She had worked in the Planetary Governor's Administrative Office for 7 years. She processed on average 417 reports per day. Mining accidents, equipment failures, personnel deviations, production quotas, tithe calculations, prayer compliance metrics. Each report followed the same format. Each report required the same response: file, categorize, route to the appropriate sub-office for review. The quarantine report from the northern mining complex was unusual but not unprecedented. Plague events occurred approximately every 8 months somewhere on Calix Tertius, usually in the Hab Warrens where air recycling was poor and populations were dense, sometimes in the mining complexes where ventilation systems failed and toxic gases accumulated. She filed the report. She categorized it: medical, potential contagion, non-critical. She routed it to the Medic Oversight Sub-Office for review. Her shift ended. She went home. The Medicae Oversight Sub-Office was managed by Supervisor Rendak Moss. He was 56 years old. He had been managing the office for 19 years. He had learned in that time that the key to surviving in the Administratum was consistency. Do not innovate. Do not question. Process everything according to protocol and let the system decide what matters. The quarantine report arrived at his desk at 9:15 the following morning. He read it. He noted the death toll: 247. He consulted the reference tables in the Administratum Handbook, Section 14, Medical Event Classifications. Death tolls between 200 to 500, with unknown cause, Priority Level 4. Priority Level 4 required acknowledgement within 48 hours, investigation within 1 week, intervention if necessary. He acknowledged the report. He scheduled an investigation for 5 days hence, within the required time frame, but not immediately. There were 14 other reports requiring investigation. He had 3 investigators on staff. The system required optimization. He filed the report and moved to the next item in his queue. This is how systems fail. Not through malice, through procedure. Her name was Yana Kost, and she was 24 years old, and she was going to die on Calix Tertius, though she did not know it yet. Yana was a mining surveyor, not a servitor. She still had her mind, but close enough to not matter in most contexts. Her job was to map subsurface structures, identify promising ore deposits, calculate extraction efficiency. She worked alone, mostly, with a cogitator unit strapped to her back and a surveying scanner in her hands. She walked through tunnels cut by servitors and machines, measuring, recording, moving on. She liked the solitude, the quiet, the darkness broken only by the light of her handheld luminator. Down in the deep tunnels, there were no overseers, no quotas, no prayer schedules, just stone and metal and the steady ping of the scanner. She was working in shaft 451 Delta, 3 kilometers from the sealed-off 447 Gamma, when her scanner detected an anomaly. The anomaly was this: empty space where there should have been stone. A cavity. Large, regular, too regular. The scanner's return signal suggested a chamber approximately 400 meters across and 50 meters high, perfectly rectangular, buried 600 meters below current mining depth. This was unusual. Natural cavities occurred, but they were irregular. This was geometric. This was artificial. Yana stood in the tunnel, staring at her scanner, feeling something she had been trained to ignore: curiosity. Protocol required reporting anomalies to the site administrator. But Halvek Prane was dead, though no one knew it yet. The Wraiths had killed him in his apartment that morning, along with the other administrative staff. The complex's remaining personnel were isolated in their sectors, following quarantine procedures, waiting for instructions that would never come. Yana did not know any of this. She only knew that she had found something strange, and that strange things in the Imperium were usually bad, but that sometimes, rarely, they were good. Sometimes they were new ore deposits. Sometimes they were forgotten storage chambers full of equipment that could be salvaged. Sometimes they were nothing. She made a decision. She would look. Just look. Just to see. This was human. This was understandable. This was going to kill approximately 400,000 people. She backtracked through the tunnels to the equipment depot. She requisitioned a drill, smaller than the industrial ones, but sufficient for a surveyor's needs. She signed the log. She offered the required prayer to the machine's spirit. She carried it back to shaft 451 Delta and began to drill. The drill punched through stone for 3 hours. Then it punched through something else. Something that resisted, then gave way, then sealed itself behind the drill bit. Living metal. Yana pulled the drill back. She expected to see a hole. She saw smooth, seamless stone. No, not stone. Metal, silver, flowing, healing. She stood very still. She was not stupid. She had heard the stories. Everyone had heard the stories. Things that slept beneath worlds. Things older than the Imperium. Things that wore metal skin and killed without. But the stories were just stories. Cautionary tales. Myths to keep workers from drilling too deep. To keep survey teams from wandering too far. The Imperium had been mining Calix Tertius for 300 years. If there was something down here, it would have been found already, wouldn't it? She touched the metal. It was cold. It was smooth. It was not any metal she recognized. She should have reported this. She should have left. She should have sealed the tunnel and flagged it for review. But she was 24 years old, and she was curious, and she was alone, and no one was watching, and she wanted to know. She drilled again, deeper. Below her in the tomb's control chamber, the machine spirit registered the new breach. It analyzed, it calculated, it determined. Escalation required. It began to wake the warriors. A Necron warrior is not alive. It is not dead. It is something else. Something that exists in the space between states, held together by will and technology so advanced that it appears as magic to those who encounter it. The warrior does not remember being alive. That memory was stripped away during biotransference, the moment when flesh became metal, when soul became code. What remains is function, purpose, obedience. In the tomb beneath Calix Tertius, the warriors began to wake in staggered intervals. The process was designed to be gradual, to prevent system overload, to allow each warrior to fully boot its consciousness protocol before integrating into the command network. The first warrior woke at 1437 local time. Its consciousness matrix activated, ran diagnostic checks, queried the tomb's central systems for orders. It was standby, assess, await command. It stood. Its joints, unused for 60 million years, operated perfectly. Its weapon, a Gauss flare that stripped matter into its constituent atoms, powered on without error. Its optical receptors activated, scanning the tomb chamber. Empty, silent. Other warriors in their alcoves, still sleeping. It waited. The second warrior woke, then the third, then 10 more, then 100, then 1,000. The tomb's command protocols were clear. Do not wake the nobility unless absolutely necessary. The nobility were volatile, temperamental, prone to madness after long periods in stasis. They had been kings and queens and generals once in the time before. They remembered, they resented, they suffered. The warriors did not suffer. They simply obeyed. The machine spirit analyzed the threat again. Surface dwellers, limited technology, no evidence of military capability, no evidence of understanding what they had found. The logical response: eliminate the intrusion, reseal the tomb, return to dormancy. It issued orders. The warriors marched. Yanakost was still drilling when the wall opened. Not broke, not cracked. Opened. The living metal flowed apart like water, revealing a passage beyond. Dark, perfectly smooth, descending. She should have run. She didn't. She stepped through. Her illuminator illuminated the passage in harsh white light. The walls were covered in symbols. Not Gothic script, not any human language. Geometric patterns that hurt to look at, that suggested meaning just beyond comprehension. She walked. The passage descended at a slight angle, deeper into the planet's crust. She counted her steps. 200, 400, 600. The passage opened into a chamber. The chamber was vast. Her illuminator could not reach the far walls, but she could see what was in it. Warriors, thousands of them, standing in perfect ranks, silent, still. She understood in that moment what she had found, what she had woken. She turned to run. The warriors moved. Not all of them, just one. It stepped from its alcove with mechanical precision. It raised its weapon. The Gauss flare hummed a sound like reality tearing. Yana ran. She made it 4 steps. The Gauss beam struck her back. She did not feel pain. She felt dissolution. Her body came apart in layers. Skin, muscle, bone. Atom by atom, stripped away and scattered. She died before she could scream. The warrior returned to its position. It filed a report. Threat eliminated. It awaited further orders. The machine spirit analyzed the situation again. 1 intruder eliminated. Threat level minimal. Conclusion: continue limited mobilization. Secure perimeter, monitor for additional intrusions. It did not consider that the intruder had come from somewhere, that she had people who would notice her absence, that her disappearance would prompt investigation. The machine spirit was intelligent, but it was not wise. 3 days passed before anyone noticed Yana was missing. This was not unusual. Survey teams often worked independently for weeks at a time. But Yana had failed to submit her daily report. The automated system flagged the deviation and sent a notice to the survey coordinator, technician supervisor Brevin Kale. Brevin was 41 years old. He managed 17 survey teams across the northern mining complex. He was himself still in quarantine, along with the other surviving personnel. The quarantine had been extended twice, first to 5 days, then to 10, while they waited for the Medicaid Oversight Sub-Office to send investigators. No investigators had arrived. Brevin sat in his small quarters, reviewing reports on a data slate, trying to maintain some semblance of normal operation despite the fact that half his workforce was dead and the other half was trapped in sealed sections of the complex. He saw Yana's missed report. He sent her a Vox message. No response. He sent another. No response. Protocol required reporting missing personnel within 48 hours, but the complex was in quarantine. The normal reporting chains were disrupted. And Yana had missed reports before, not often, but occasionally, when she was working in deep tunnels where Vox signals didn't penetrate. Brevin made a decision: wait another day. If she didn't report by then, he would escalate. He was tired, he was afraid. He was doing his best to follow procedure in a situation where procedure was breaking down. He made the wrong choice. That night, the warriors emerged from the tomb. They did not burst through stone in some dramatic assault. They phased through the planet's crust, moving along the same dimensional corridors the Wraiths had used. They emerged in the sealed sections of the mining complex, in the maintenance tunnels, in the storage chambers, in the sleeping quarters. They killed methodically. Every human they encountered, every servitor, every living thing. The Gauss flayers did their work quietly. No explosions, no alarms, just the soft hum of matter being unmade. By dawn, the northern mining complex was empty. Population, 0. The automated systems continued to function. Life support, power generation, Vox systems, but no one was there to use them. The quarantine continued. The seals remained in place. From the outside, everything appeared normal. This is what makes the Imperium vulnerable. Not its size, not its enemies, its faith in its own systems. The first indication that something was wrong came from the Tithe Assessment Office. The northern mining complex had missed its weekly production report. This was flagged by an automated system and routed to Tithe Assessor 4771 Tertius, designation Halvin Moore. Halvin was 67 years old. He had been calculating tithes for 43 years. He knew with absolute certainty that late reports were common. Equipment failures, administrative backlogs, Vox system disruptions, any number of mundane problems could delay a report. But he also knew that patterns mattered. The northern complex had been in quarantine for 12 days. It had missed 2 production reports. It had submitted no requests for extensions, no explanations for delays, no communication of any kind beyond the initial quarantine notice. This was unusual. Halvin escalated the matter to his supervisor, who escalated it to their supervisor, who escalated it to the office of the planetary governor. The planetary governor of Calix Tertius was Lord Executor Vanek Helt. He was 54 years old. He had governed Calix Tertius for 11 years. He was, by all measures, a competent administrator. He filed his reports on time. He met his tithe obligations. He maintained order. He was, in the eyes of the administratum, invisible, which is the highest compliment a planetary governor can receive. Lord Helt received the escalation report at 1420 local time. He read it. He noted the details: quarantine, missed reports, no communication. He consulted his advisors. The consensus, probably nothing. Quarantine procedures sometimes disrupted communication systems. The Medicaid oversight investigation would resolve the situation when it occurred. But Lord Helt was cautious. He authorized a low-priority investigation. He assigned a single transport with a crew of 6, 2 administratum officials, 2 Medicaid staff, 2 Arbites enforcers for security. The transport departed the primary hab complex at 18. Travel time to the northern mining complex, 4 hours by ground transport. They arrived at 2200. The complex was dark. Not just unlit, dark in a way that suggested absence. The transport surveyor systems detected no life signs, no movement. The complex's automated systems were active, but no one was responding to Vox hails. The team disembarked. They approached the main entrance. It was sealed as per quarantine protocol. They used override codes to open it. Inside, they found bodies, not fresh, not decayed, just empty. The staff looked like they had simply stopped functioning. No wounds, no signs of struggle, just death. The team retreated to the transport. They sent an urgent Vox message to the primary hab complex. Critical situation. Recommend immediate military response. The message was received at 2347. It was logged. It was categorized emergency, priority 1. It was routed to the office of the Planetary Defense Coordinator. The Planetary Defense Coordinator was not available. He was attending a mandatory devotional observance that would last until morning. The message would be reviewed at 08. By then, it would be too late. The tomb's machine spirit had determined that the threat level had escalated beyond acceptable parameters. The surface dwellers had sent an investigative team. That team had witnessed evidence of the tomb's defensive actions. They had retreated. They would report. They would return with greater force. The logical response: eliminate the source of intrusion before it could mobilize. The machine spirit began waking more warriors, not thousands, hundreds of thousands. And it began, carefully, to wake some of the nobility. Specifically, it woke the Tomb Lord's second lieutenant, a being designated in its former life as Executor Thisic. It had been a general once, in the wars in heaven. It had led legions against the old ones. It had burned worlds. It had watched its own flesh melt away and its soul scream into machinery. It woke slowly, consciousness filtering back through layers of dormancy. Rage first. Always rage. The rage of what had been lost, what had been taken. Then clarity. Then purpose. It queried the tomb's systems. It reviewed the situation, surface dwellers, intrusions, limited response. The machine spirit had acted appropriately, but it lacked authority for broader strategic decisions. Executor Thisic made those decisions. Standing in its command chamber, surrounded by active hololithic displays showing the planet's surface, it analyzed the tactical situation. The surface dwellers were weak, primitive, scattered across multiple installations. No unified military, no significant orbital assets, no evidence of advanced weapons. This world had been chosen as a tomb specifically because it was remote, unimportant, unlikely to be disturbed. That assessment had been correct for 60 million years. But now the surface dwellers had disturbed the tomb, and the tomb's protocols were clear. Once woken, either eliminate all threats or return to dormancy. Partial measures were not acceptable. Executor Thisic issued orders: total purge, every surface installation, every settlement, every human presence. The planet would be cleansed, and then the tomb would reseal itself and return to sleep. The warriors marched, not in waves, not in assaults. They simply phased to the surface at every major human installation simultaneously. Primary hab complex, secondary outposts, mining facilities, agridomes, communication stations. They arrived at exactly 3:17 local time. They killed everything. Vorna Kellis woke to the sound of Gauss fire. She did not know what it was. It sounded like static, like reality tearing, like something wrong. She lived in Hab Block 7, level 24, apartment 447. A small space, one cot, a desk, a picture of her parents, dead 5 years now in a transport accident. She was alone. She had no family. No close friends. Her life was work, reports, files, numbers. She heard screaming. She went to her door, opened it. The corridor outside was dark except for emergency lumens. People were running. She grabbed someone, an old man she vaguely recognized from the transit station. "What's happening?" He didn't answer, just ran. She followed. The corridor led to an evacuation stairwell. She ran down, level 23, level 22, level 21. The screaming grew louder, then stopped. Sudden silence. She reached level 20. The stairwell door was open. She looked through. A warrior stood in the hallway, silver, skeletal, holding a weapon that glowed with sickly green light. Around it, bodies, dozens of them, unmade, scattered atoms drifting in the recycled air. The warrior turned, its optical receptors focused on her. She ran, up the stairs, back the way she came. She heard it behind her. not running, walking, methodical, inevitable. She reached level 24, her floor. She ran to her apartment, slammed the door, locked it, stood there, breathing hard, knowing it was pointless. The door dissolved. The warrior stepped through. Vorna stared at it. She had processed 417 reports per day for 7 years. She had filed them, categorized them, routed them. She had followed procedure. She had done everything right. Why? She asked. The warrior did not answer. It raised its gauze flare. Vorna closed her eyes. She thought about her parents, about the reports she had filed, about the quarantine notice from the northern mining complex, about how she had categorized it, non-critical. She understood in her last moment that the system had not failed. It had worked exactly as designed. The reports had been filed, the procedures had been followed, and none of it mattered because the system was designed to absorb loss, not prevent it. The Gauss beam struck her. She became atoms. The warrior moved to the next apartment. By dawn, the primary Hab complex was silent. Population, 312,847, now 0. The Necron warriors returned to the tomb. They filed their reports. They entered their alcoves. They shut down, awaiting further orders. Executors Thyssic reviewed the results. Satisfactory. The purge had been efficient. 17 hours from initiation to completion. All surface installations eliminated. No survivors detected. But the executor was not satisfied. This had been a waste. The tomb was supposed to sleep for millions more years. Waking was costly. Each activation degraded the system slightly. And this activation had been for nothing. Surface dwellers who posed no real threat, eliminated not because they were dangerous, but because they were inconvenient. This was not war. This was pest control. The executor queried the tomb's historical logs. How had the surface dwellers found the tomb? The logs showed random mining operation, accidental breach, no evidence of intentional intrusion, bad luck, nothing more. The executor made a decision. The tomb would reseal itself. The living metal would be restored. The dimensional barriers would be reinforced. The tomb would sleep again, and this time it would not wake unless the galaxy itself was ending. The orders were issued. The systems began to power down. The warriors entered deep stasis. The nobility returned to their sarcophagi. Executor's Thyssic was the last to sleep. It stood in the command chamber, looking at the hololithic displays showing Calix Tertius. A dead world now, empty, silent. It felt nothing. It had not felt anything in 60 million years. It entered its sarcophagus. The living metal flowed shut. The stasis field activated. The tomb returned to sleep. 3 months passed before the Imperium noticed something was wrong. The Administratum Sector Office flagged Calix Tertius for missed tithe payments. A low-priority investigation was authorized. A ship was dispatched. The transport vessel Accounting Vigilance, crew of 40, plus 20 Administratum officials tasked with determining why a minor frontier world had stopped paying its tithes. They arrived in orbit to find the planet silent. No Vox response. No automated beacon signals. No orbital traffic. They sent a landing craft. It touched down near the primary Hab complex. The investigation team disembarked. They found the city empty. Doors open, lights functioning, automated systems still running, but no people, no bodies, just absence. They searched for 3 days. They found nothing. No evidence of plague, no evidence of invasion, no evidence of anything except that everyone was simply gone. The lead investigator, Assessor Primary Kelvin Vrot, filed his report. He described the situation in precise, bureaucratic language. Unexplained population loss, total, cause, unknown. Recommendation, world reclassification to abandoned. Secondary recommendation, quarantine classification pending further investigation. The report was filed, it was categorized, it was routed. Calix Tertius was reclassified as dead world, cause unknown, quarantined. The planet was removed from the tithe ledgers. Its records were archived. Its name was moved from active registry to historical reference. No investigation into the cause was ever conducted. The Imperium had 1,000,000 worlds. It could not afford to investigate every mystery, every anomaly, every inexplicable loss. The system worked as designed. 50 years later, a survey team from the Adeptus Mechanicus entered the Calix system. They were looking for archaeotech, ancient technology that could be recovered and studied. They had heard rumors of a dead world. Dead worlds sometimes contained valuable salvage. They landed on Calix Tertius. They explored the empty cities. They found the mining complexes. They followed the tunnels deep into the planet's crust. They found Shaft 447 Gamma. They found the sealed entrance, the living metal that self-repaired. They recognized what it was. They reported their finding to their superiors. Necron tomb detected. Status dormant. Recommendation, do not disturb. The recommendation was noted. The planet's classification was updated. Dead world, xenos presence, extreme quarantine. The Mechanicus team departed. No attempt was made to explore the tomb. No attempt was made to wake it. The lesson had been learned, in the way the Imperium learns all lessons, through loss, through absence, through the empty spaces where people used to be. Calix Tertius remained empty. The tomb remained sealed. The warriors slept. This is what you must understand about the Imperium. It does not save people. It processes them. Every world is a mechanism. Every human is a component. The system continues because it accepts loss as operational cost. Not tragedy, not failure, just cost. Calix Tertius was lost because someone drilled in the wrong place, because someone didn't file the right report, because someone was tired or afraid or simply following procedure in a situation where procedure was insufficient. But these were not failures, these were features. The Imperium is designed to lose worlds. It must be. When you govern 1,000,000 planets, you cannot save them all. You can only ensure that the loss of one does not cascade into the loss of 1,000. This is doctrine, this is faith, this is survival. The people of Calix Tertius did not die because of incompetence. They died because they were expendable. The system determined their value, calculated their importance, and found them wanting. Not cruelly, not personally, just mathematically. 400,000 lives, a frontier world, marginal ore yields, no strategic importance, no irreplaceable resources, no heroes, no saints. Just people doing their jobs, following procedures, praying to the Emperor, hoping their tithes would be enough to keep the Administratum's attention elsewhere. They did everything right, and they died anyway. In the archives of the Administratum, on a data server buried somewhere in the bureaucratic labyrinths of Terra, there exists a file. The file is labeled Calix Tertius, Population Loss Event, Year 47042, Status Archived. Inside the file are reports, tithe assessments, production quotas, personnel manifests, investigation findings, all formatted correctly, all signed and countersigned, all filed in the proper sequence. The file concludes with a single notation: cause of population loss, unknown, planetary classification, dead world. Recommendation, no further action required. No one reads this file. No one will ever read this file. It exists only to exist, a record of absence, a monument to bureaucratic completeness. This is how the Imperium remembers, through documentation, not mourning. Somewhere in that file, buried in the personnel manifests, is a name, Vorna Kellis. Administratum Clerk 7449 Tertius, age 32, service record 7 years, status deceased. Next to her name is a tithe calculation, the cost of her training, the value of her labor, the loss to the Administratum of her death. The calculation is precise, 47,392 throne gelt. This is what she was worth. Not to herself, not to anyone who might have loved her, to the system. This is not cruelty. This is how the Imperium survives. You might ask, why didn't the Imperium send help sooner? The answer is, help was never coming. The quarantine report was filed correctly. The investigation was scheduled according to protocol. The priorities were assessed based on established criteria. Everything worked as designed. The system is not broken. The system is working. Consider, the Imperium receives approximately 4 billion reports per day across its 1,000,000 worlds. Deaths, disasters, deviations, heresies. Each report must be categorized, prioritized, routed to the appropriate authority. How do you prioritize 4 billion reports? You create systems, classification matrices, priority levels, response timeframes. You reduce every tragedy to a number, every crisis to a category, every life to a data point, and then you trust the system. Because if you don't trust the system, if you question every decision, second-guess every priority, investigate every anomaly, the entire mechanism collapses. The Imperium drowns in its own data. 1,000,000 worlds become ungovernable. So you trust the system, you follow procedure, you file your reports and hope someone, somewhere will read them and care. Usually they don't. This is not a bug. This is the design. Yanikos died because she was curious. She saw an anomaly. She investigated. She drilled through a barrier that had kept something ancient and terrible asleep for 60 million years. Was this her fault? The Imperium would say yes. Curiosity is deviation. Deviation is heresy. She should have reported the anomaly. She should have waited for authorization. She should have trusted the system. But she was 24 years old, working alone in the dark, and she wanted to understand what she had found. This is human. This is forgivable. This killed 400,000 people. There is no lesson here, no moral, just cause and effect. One person's decision multiplied through a system designed to magnify small failures into catastrophic losses. The Imperium could have prevented this. Better training, more oversight, faster response times, stricter protocols. But these solutions cost resources, and resources are always scarce. And so the Imperium makes choices. It accepts some risks to avoid others. It lets some worlds burn so that others might survive. This is triage on a galactic scale. This is the only way a million worlds can be governed. This is why the Imperium will never truly win. It can only endure. The Emperor did not intervene. This bears stating explicitly. The Emperor, enthroned on Terra, maintaining the Astronomicon, holding back the tides of chaos with his psychic might. He did not save Calix Tertius. Perhaps he did not notice. The galaxy is vast. The Emperor's attention is divided across countless fronts. A single frontier world, lost to Xenos' attack, is statistically insignificant. Or perhaps he noticed and chose not to act. The Emperor has priorities. Calix Tertius was not one of them. Or perhaps, and this is the thought that keeps some priests awake at night, he could not act. The Emperor is powerful, but he is not omnipotent. His power is finite. His attention is limited. He must choose where to intervene, knowing that every choice means abandoning something else. The Imperium prays to the Emperor for salvation. The Emperor saves those he can. The rest are left to save themselves, or die. This is faith tested. This is faith broken. This is why the ecclesiarchy teaches that death in service to the Emperor is itself a form of salvation. Because if death is not salvation, then the Imperium is simply a machine that consumes its own people for no purpose beyond its own continuation. And that thought is heresy. So it is not thought. From the perspective of the tomb, this entire event was a minor inconvenience. The Necrons do not feel, they do not regret, they calculate, they respond, they optimize. Executors Thisik woke, assessed the situation, eliminated the threat, and returned to sleep. Total time awake, 19 hours. Casualty sustained 0. Enemy eliminated, total. By every metric, this was a success. The fact that the enemy posed no real threat, that they were simply primitive surface dwellers who stumbled upon the tomb by accident, this was irrelevant. The protocols were clear. Once disturbed, eliminate or be eliminated. There was no malice in this, no hatred. Just ancient programming executing ancient directives. The Necrons are older than human civilization. They have seen species rise and fall. They have watched empires burn and new ones grow from the ashes. They are patient. They can wait. They will wait until the galaxy is ready for harvest, until the younger races have built their civilizations to peak strength, until the moment is optimal. Then they will wake. All of them. Across every tomb world, billions of warriors, thousands of nobility, technology that makes imperial science look like cave paintings, and they will take back what was theirs. But that time is not now. Now they sleep, and Calix Tertius sleeps with them. A dead world. A warning no one will heed, a pattern no one will recognize until it repeats 1,000 times across 1,000 worlds. This is the nature of the Necron threat, not violence, inevitability. Assessor Primary Kelvin Vrot spent 3 months writing his report on Calix Tertius. He was thorough, he documented everything. The empty cities, the functioning automated systems, the absence of bodies, the lack of evidence. He included survey data, atmospheric readings, geological analyses. He interviewed his entire team, he cross-referenced historical records. His report was 847 pages long. It concluded with a single recommendation. Further investigation required. Phenomenon unexplained. Potential xenos involvement cannot be ruled out. Recommend dispatch of inquisitorial observation team. The report was filed. It was categorized. Investigation complete. Findings inconclusive. Recommendation noted. The recommendation was never acted upon, because the Inquisition has its own priorities, and a dead world with no survivors and no evidence is low on that list. There are active threats, active heresies, active plots. The Inquisition cannot investigate every mystery. It must focus on threats that are immediate, tangible, actionable. A dead world is none of these things. So Vrot's report sits in an archive, unread, gathering digital dust. All that work, all that thoroughness, all that care, meaningless. This is what breaks people in the Administratum. Not the scale of the Imperium's losses, the certainty that their work does not matter, that they are simply processing information that no one will use, filing reports that no one will read, maintaining a system that exists only to maintain itself. Vrot served for 7 more years after Calix Tertius. Then, he retired. He moved to an agri-world and grew corpse starch wheat. He never spoke about his investigation. He never wrote another report. He died at age 73. Peacefully, in his sleep. The system did not notice his absence. There is no lesson. This is important to understand. The Imperium does not learn. It cannot learn. Learning requires adaptation, and adaptation requires change, and change is heresy. The Imperium's strength is its consistency, its adherence to doctrine, its refusal to deviate from protocols, established 10,000 years ago by minds far greater than those living today. To question the system is to question the Emperor's design, and the Emperor, being divine, cannot err. Therefore, the system cannot err. Therefore, Calix Tertius was not a failure. It was an acceptable loss, a statistical inevitability. The kind of thing that happens when you govern 1,000,000 worlds across a galaxy where everything is trying to kill you. The Imperium will not change its procedures. It will not allocate more resources to frontier worlds. It will not improve response times or investigation protocols or quarantine procedures, because these changes would cost resources, and those resources are needed elsewhere. And there are always more worlds, more people, more bodies to feed into the great machine. This is doctrine, this is faith, this is reality. The people of Calix Tertius are dead. The Imperium continues. These two facts are unrelated in every way that matters. In the ruins of the primary Hab complex on Calix Tertius, in what was once apartment 447 on level 24 of Hab Block 7, there is a picture. It survived somehow. Vorna Kellis's picture of her parents. It fell when she died, landed face down, protected from the atomic dissolution that took everything else. The picture shows 2 people, middle-aged, smiling slightly, standing in front of a transit station. The photo is old, the colors are faded, no one will ever see this picture again. The planet is quarantined. Dead worlds are not revisited unless there is a compelling strategic reason. Calix Tertius has no such reason. The picture will remain there, face down on the floor of an empty apartment, until entropy takes it. A few decades, perhaps a century. Time has no meaning on a dead world. This is the memorial, not a monument, not a ceremony, just an object, surviving briefly in a place where nothing else survives. If you could stand in that apartment, in that silence, you might feel compelled to pray. The Imperium teaches that prayer is always appropriate, that the Emperor hears all prayers, weighs all souls, judges all actions. So pray, if you wish. Pray for Vorna Kellis, who filed her reports correctly and died anyway. Pray for Yana Kost, who was curious and paid the price. Pray for Halvek Prain, who made one delayed decision and doomed his world. Pray for all 400,000 souls who lived and died on Calix Tertius, whose names are recorded nowhere except in files no one will read. Pray. The Emperor will not answer. He never does. Not because he is cruel, but because he is busy. Because there are 1,000,000 worlds, and each world has billions of souls, and each soul is praying, always praying, begging for salvation that will never come. The Emperor saves those he can. The rest must save themselves, or die. Usually, they die. This is the Imperium of Man. This is the price of survival. This is what it means to endure in a galaxy that wants you dead. And so the Imperium continues. New worlds are settled, new tides are collected, new reports are filed, new clerks sit at new desks, processing new deviations, routing new investigations, trusting that the system works. Because it does work. Not perfectly, not humanely, but it works. The Imperium has survived for 10,000 years. It will survive for 10,000 more. Not because it is just, not because it is kind, but because it is designed to survive, to absorb loss, to continue regardless. Worlds will burn, people will die, tombs will wake, demons will breach reality, Tyranids will consume, Orks will multiply, chaos will corrupt, and the Imperium will continue, because that is all it knows how to do. Somewhere, right now, on some frontier world whose name you will never know, someone is drilling into stone. Someone is filing a report. Someone is making a decision that will, in 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years, kill everyone they know. They do not know this yet. They are following procedure. They are doing their job. They are faithful to the Emperor, and they are already dead. This is the nature of the Imperium. This is the weight of faith without understanding. This is what happens when systems replace wisdom, when procedure replaces thought, when faith replaces hope. Nothing changes, nothing improves, nothing learns. The Imperium continues, the tomb sleeps, the galaxy turns, and in the dark and the cold, in the spaces between stars, other tombs are stirring, other protocols are activating, other worlds are about to die. The Necrons are patient. They have waited 60 million years. They can wait a little longer. Administratum Archive Notation, Calyx Tertius, Classification, Dead World, Population 0, Tithe Status, Exempt, Quarantine Level, Extreme, Extreme Last Update, 47.42.089. Notes, Unexplained Population Loss, No Survivors Detected, Cause Unknown, Xenos Presence Suspected but Unconfirmed, Planetary Assets Remain Intact, Automated Systems Functional, Recommendation, Maintain Quarantine, No Salvage Operations Authorized, No Resettlement Authorized, Planet to remain on restricted registry indefinitely. This world is dead. The Emperor protects. The file closes. The archive saves. The system continues. In the darkness of the tomb, the warriors sleep. Their Gauss flares are powered down. Their consciousness matrices are dormant. They dream, if machines can dream, of a galaxy that belonged to them once. They will wake again, perhaps in 1,000 years, perhaps in 1,000,000. But they will wake. And when they do, the Imperium will respond exactly as it always does. Too late, with too little, trusting procedures that were outdated before humanity learned to read. This is not prophecy. This is pattern. This is history repeating, as it always has, as it always will. The Imperium does not prevent disasters. It absorbs them and calls it victory. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war and paperwork, mostly paperwork.